How important is it to have a good accent in a foreign language? What do you think? Please leave me a comment down below. That's the topic we're going to talk about today. Thanks a lot to my Patreons, and let's get started. Accent. This used to be a very big topic for me. I used to be a lot more of a perfectionist when I was younger, and now I'm more accepting of, circumstances and reality, but I used to be a perfectionist and I really wanted to nail the accent. And well, right now I'm more flexible and I understand that accents change. And I think it's always context related, whether you should have a perfect accent or a good accent or like an understandable accent. So it just depends on the situation, right? If you're a double agent and you're pretending to be from another country, of course you should have a perfect accent because it could get very dangerous for you if you don't. But I think, like, just jokes aside, apart from such extreme situations, I don't think accent matters that much. I think it just, I don't know, it's a very personal choice. I remember feeling very self-conscious when you have a so-called bad accent because people kind of maybe look at you weird or whatever. But I think when you're feeling that way, I think you're being very self-aware, and in reality, people don't really care about your accent. Like, at least that's my experience. Of course, if you have maybe a more native like accent, maybe people will be like, wow, you have a very nice accent or whatever. So, but apart from that, I don't think it's that important. I think the issue about the accent, what makes it so tricky, is that a lot of people, when they have what they call a bad accent, they don't feel like speaking. And this will lead to them practicing less and feeling even more anxious about speaking. And it's a sort of vicious circle. And so I don't think accent matters that much, but if you care about it, it will affect your level of the language, because the fact that you have what you think is a bad accent will stop you from practicing, which will stop you from improving altogether. So I think that does play a role. But yeah, so in my view, I like having a nice accent. I will admit it. I try to, whenever I notice that my accent got worse, I get a little bit mad. So I know I'm contradicting myself, right? I'm telling you it's not important, but I'm telling you at the same time that I do care about it. I mean, it's a very personal thing. I think for the languages I use the most, or like I'm most advanced at, I do like having a good accent. And when I have my bad accent days, because accent changes. So when I have my bad accent days, I feel frustrated. Like if I recorded a video and then I watch it, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm speaking English, but I have a very strong German accent speaking English, which happens sometimes. But then I just remind myself, hey, it's not that important, So, but I think it just depends on the language. So, for instance, if it's a language I'm just learning just for fun and I'm not using it for work, I think there's this point where it needs to be understandable. So if your accent is so strong that people don't understand you, I do think it's an issue. And you can work on it. I think, like, that's my opinion. If the accent is so strong that it distracts from the communication, and or it just altogether just doesn't allow communication at all because it's so strong, then I think it's the only case I would say, well, I mean, you can improve it. Like, there are many ways to focus on that. So that would be my take. So just to sum it up, I don't think accent is that important. The only time it could be a little bit tricky is if really it's that strong that people don't understand you at all. And of course, it's a very personal thing. So if you personally like improving your accent, there are polyglots out there who are sound native like, and that is impressive indeed. But it's not easy to achieve. Like, most people don't achieve that. So if you set yourself such unrealistic goals, you just need to keep in mind that it's not very probable that you're gonna reach that. And what I personally did with German, at some point I was like, I would really like to sound native like in German, but I was thinking about what it would take for me to achieve that, if possible at all, which I don't know if it's possible for me. It's a very individual thing. And what I came to realize is that it would take a lot of hours, effort, money, because I would need to invest in, I don't know, like pronunciation classes, things like that, someone helping me. And at the end of the day, I felt like it wasn't worth it. And I personally prefer dedicating my time to other things, like my YouTube channel or other languages or my free time, or I don't know. So it is a very personal decision, but I think we shouldn't kind of shame each other for our choices. If someone really wants to focus on accent, go ahead. Like it's your life, you know, do what feels right for you. If someone has a strong accent, we should encourage that person to speak regardless of accent, because accent is not everything. Communication should be the focus and the key. And I think that's important for maybe teenager, or, you know, people who are getting started with language learning, to be conscious of this vicious circle. If I don't feel confident, I don't speak. If I don't speak, I don't improve, or I don't practice. If I don't practice, I don't improve. It is not trivial, you know, it's kind of important. So you should teach yourself to feel comfortable feeling uncomfortable. So if accent is a thing that bothers you, it shouldn't just prevent you from speaking. It can be something you're like, oh, I don't like it, I want to improve it. That's fine. But just be aware of the fact that the way to improving it will be practicing, and you will have to listen to your accent even if you don't like it. And you might have someone criticize your accent or say, oh, you have a strong accent. Well, just accept it and practice. So just don't let this stop you from speaking. That would be my message. What do you think about it? Do you also share my opinion, or do you think it's super important? Something we didn't talk about is, okay, if you're learning English, which accent should you learn? Should you actively just learn one or the other? There are thousands, right? But for instance, what we have more media of would be the typical American accent from Hollywood, let's say. I mean, there are many accents, I know, in the whole US, or I don't know, in the UK, there are many accents too, but typically in schools, for instance, in Spain, you normally will learn British English, kind of the standardized form, I guess. And if you're watching a lot of movies, you would learn more of the American version. I didn't specifically choose one accent. For me, it was more, I was watching lots of series, lots of American shows. And so I guess my accent is more American than British, which is a little strange if you think about the fact that I'm European, but it just sort of happened. I didn't decide. And I don't think, like, if you're learning English, I don't think you should be like, okay, I will just focus on that one accent and I will completely ignore that other one. Because it can be also tricky for understanding. I mean, I was having a little bit of difficulty understanding British English, actually, despite having a high level of English. So I think, in my opinion, like, the best way to go is to have an open mind about accents. If you want to have one accent for yourself, maybe focus on one specifically, but don't just ignore completely the other accents, because if you do, you might have difficulties understanding people who have those accents. So having a bit of variety can help you. What do you think about it? I hope you like this video. Please leave a like, a comment, subscribe, and share this with your friends. And yeah, thanks a lot to my Patreons, and hope to see you very soon. Bye bye.